So let's look at solving a more complicated equation. The goal when we're solving the equation is still the same. We're trying to figure out the value of x that makes the equation true. Additionally, we are trying to get x by itself, and we're still going to do that by undoing operations that are being done to x. You can see from looking at this equation, we see x actually written in 3 different places in the equation. What that's telling us is that we cannot start to isolate x or get it by itself because it's in multiple places. So the first thing we have to do is just get the x in one place. To do this, the first thing we should do is see if we can make each side of the equation any simpler. If I look here on the left side of the equation, I just have 2 terms or pieces. I have a 5x minus 9. 5x and 9 are not like terms because 5x has an x and the 9 does not. So we cannot combine those like terms. So there's really nothing for us to do right now on the left side of the equation to make it simpler. On the right side, we can make this equation or this expression simpler because we do have a set of like terms. This first term, 3x, has an x. The second term is x, or 1x. It also has an x, so those 2 terms can be combined together. So that would be our first step, would be to combine those like terms, and we'll go ahead and rewrite the entire equation. So the 5x minus 9 stays the same. We'll keep the equals, and the 3x and the 1x can be added together because of the addition sign here, and 3x plus 1x is 4x. Then we can't forget to write the rest of the equation. There's a minus 1 at the end, so we have to include that too. So you can see now at this point, both sides of the equation are as simplified as they can be. 5x minus 9, we can't combine those, they're not like terms. And 4x minus 1, we can't combine those because they're not like terms. You can see we still do have x in 2 places. We have it once on each side of the equation, so the next step is to get the x on just one side of the equation. And we're going to do that by either adding or subtracting. I usually like to have the x's end up over here on the left side, so in order to do that, I have to do something to get rid of this 4x from the right side. Since the 4x is positive, we're going to get rid of that 4x by subtracting 4x on each side. So I'll write a minus 4x over on the left side, and notice I'm writing it underneath the like term with a minus 4x. So I'm writing it underneath the 5x, which is a like term. So I will also subtract 4x on the other side. And then now we can rewrite 5x minus 4x. Well, that's just 1x. We have to bring down that minus 9 and rewrite it. We'll write our equals sign. 4x minus 4x, well, those cancel out and make a 0. So all we have left, which was a minus 1, has now become a negative 1. So now we have a pretty simple equation to solve. We just have 1x minus 9 equals negative 1. So now we can just use our undoing steps to solve for x. We'll undo the minus 9 by adding 9 on each side. That leaves us with 1x equal to positive 8. To get the x by itself, we'd have to divide each side by 1. Now you can write that, but dividing by 1 on each side doesn't change anything. So we're left with the answer, x equals 8. Let's look at solving another equation. Again, we can see here that this equation really isn't ready for our undoing steps because we see x on both sides of the equation, and over here on the right we actually see x written twice. So we know we have to do some simplifying before we can start the solving. So on the right side of the equation, we want to be able to combine these like terms, but before we can do that, we have to eliminate these parentheses. We can't combine this 2x with this x inside until the parentheses are eliminated. And the way that we're going to eliminate the parentheses is to use the distributive property. Now, we're going to distribute this 4 that's in front of the parentheses to each part inside the parentheses, and we do that by multiplying. Now notice that in front of the 4 we also see a minus sign. And that minus sign really goes with or is attached to that 4. And I think to show that, I'm once again going to make that change of changing the minus sign to plus a negative, or adding the opposite. I think it'll make it clearer about what needs to be distributed. I'm going to rewrite the parts of the equation that won't be affected by the distributive property first. So I'll rewrite the 5x minus 3 equals 2x. And now we can start distributing. So we're going to take this negative 4 and multiply it by the first term inside the parentheses. And that's negative 4 times x, which gives us a negative 4x. And this plus sign here is telling us how to attach that negative 4x to the other parts. So I'm going to go ahead and write plus a negative 4x. And then I have to distribute to the other term inside the parentheses. So I have to do negative 4 times 1. And negative 4 times 1 is a negative 4. And then there was a minus sign in between the two terms inside the parentheses. So I'm going to rewrite that minus sign once again. Now in my next step, I can start to now be doing some combining of like terms. So on the left side of the equation, we see 5x and 3. Those are not like terms, so we will just rewrite the expression 5x minus 3. We'll rewrite the equal sign, and then on the right side, we do have like terms. We have 2x and negative 4x, and 2x plus negative 4x. Well, 2 plus negative 4 is negative 2, so 2x plus negative 4x is negative 2x. And then we have a minus a negative 4, and minus a negative 4 is the same thing as plus 4. So now you can see the left side is fully simplified and the right side is fully simplified. There are no parentheses and there are no like terms that need to be combined. So now we just need to next get the x on just one side of the equation. Again, I like to end up with my x's on the left side of the equation, so I'm going to work to make that happen. That means I need to get rid of this x term on the right side. This time the x term is negative 2x, and the way to get rid of that term is to use addition. So I'm going to add 2x right underneath the negative 2x. I'm going to add 2x on the other side of the equation to keep things balanced, and I'm going to add it under the like term. So this 5x has an x, so I'm going to do a plus 2x right underneath that term. Rewriting 5x plus 2x, well that's 7x. We'll rewrite the minus 3 and the equals. Negative 2x plus 2x makes 0, so all we're left with on the right side is a positive 4. So now we have a pretty simple equation to solve. We're left with just 7x minus 3 equals 4, and we can solve by undoing. We'll undo the minus 3 with a plus 3 on each side. That gives us 7x equals 7. And we'll undo the multiplication of 7 that's in front of the x by dividing by 7. And we arrive at the solution that x is equal to 1.